My name is Bob Sauppee. I was a young kid and joined the Navy in 1944. I went to boot camp at Sampson, New York, and went through 8 or 9 weeks. Ended up in the Pacific, went aboard the USS Missouri. Well, when I went aboard the Missouri, I'll never forget it. I was just a young kid out of boot camp. I was still 17, I wasn't even 18 yet. And I'll never forget, I went down one of these ladders to go on watch, but I wasn't sure. So I said to one of these guys walking by, I have to go on guard duty, and I don't know where the hell to go. And the guy laughed like the devil because he wanted me to go on watch, you know. And being a boot, just out of boot camp, we got through it, and I finally found it. Of course, I got to know the ship, and many a time, I'll never forget, I thought I was going to be a fireman. And the next thing you know, some guy asked me, how was your algebra? And it was one of my hardest subjects. But I told him, I said, 80, 85. He said, you'll be a good fire controlman. So he said, go down 3 decks and go in this room. And I thought, well, I'm going down in the boiler rooms. It's going to be hot down there. I knock on the door, I walk in, it's air conditioned. I come to find out, which I didn't know, my division officer says, you're going to be a fire controlman. I said, yeah. I said, do I take the white stripe off and put the red stripe on? And he said, no. And of course, he had another guy there with him. He said, I like him, I want him. So I became a fire controlman, which I found out what a fire controlman was. We controlled the firing aboard, all aboard the ships, firing aboard the ships. So one thing and another, and I became a fire controlman. But we controlled the firing aboard of the 5-inch guns, the 40 millimeters, and the 20s. And that was FA division, fire control anti-aircraft. We also had fire control main battery, which they were FM division, and they controlled the firing of the main battery, the 16-inch guns. In general quarters, I would go up into one of the 5-inch gun directors, and I was a radar operator. And we'd have radar operating, and I'd operate the radar. And we had controllers, and we had other guys. We had 5 people aboard that director. But I was in the anti-aircraft. We got hit with a kamikaze one time. It was the only time we got hit. And it was the kid, he came in on the, I was up in the director, in a 5-inch gun director. Of course, our armor was like this, so we were pretty safe. But there was a 40 millimeter gun tub down there, and this plane comes in. You gotta. I have a picture of it, but a picture of the gun on the wing of the airplane got stuck in the wing of one of our 40-inch guns. It's hard to believe, but it's there. You see it. And then the kid, he dove. Well, we shot him down, and he landed on the main deck. This was aft, and we figured the kid was only about 14 or 15 years old, because in those days, the Japanese were at the bottom, and they were teaching the kids to take off, but they never taught them to land, and this was part of it, and we were lucky. So. And then we had a lot of Marines. We buried the kid at sea, and we had about 125 Marines on board, and there was quite a few of the Marines that refused to be in the burial program, which you couldn't blame them. But they buried the kid at sea, and like I say, he was 14 or 15 years old. And that was that program. And I was on the USS Missouri during the war, and when the war ended, I was lucky enough to be on the ship when the peace treaty was signed in Tokyo Bay. That was a funny one because when we would come up for, we had a muster, and we mustered at turret 1 on the port side, and all the celebrities were coming aboard on the port side. So a lot of the guys were coming aboard, the guys with the news people with their reporter, their cameras and everything, and we're right there at turret 1, and they were going to go up on top of turret 2. So they called about 4 or 5 of us out to help these guys with their cameras up on it. And of course my division officer, who was the same guy, he said, "Now don't forget, you guys," he picked out about 4 or 5 of us to help these people up with all our equipment. "Now don't forget," now he said, "come back down." And we got up there, and we had a hell of a good, we looked right down off of turret 2, and there was the ceremony. We stayed, and of course we had a good watch. We got a good look at we saw the whole ceremony, and of course when we were done, he said, "I knew damn well you weren't coming back then." So that was the program on that. And I used to look at the different pictures that they have. They'd show up turret 2, and you'd see all these guys looking down. I could never pick myself out because we were just kids, and to this day I can't tell who was who. But we enjoyed it. It was a good life. Well, first of all, we were scared to death. We didn't know what, because Japanese, we didn't know what they'd do. But you looked out on the horizon, and there was all these ships coming over the horizon. It was unbelievable. We were the first ones into Tokyo Bay. But all these ships are coming in, and it was all over the whole horizon. Ships coming in, they were all our people. And of course, different countries. But they all come in, and we were nervous, but it never happened, we never had any trouble with them. They came aboard, God bless them, and we never had any trouble. So we were glad to go home.